Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Mole Trap here, coming at you with game number 2 of our grand final from the 2005 ever OSL. We're seeing Nada on your screen there, actually. I think I might have said that was GoodFriend before. I think that was Nada. It's hard to see because of the pixels. There's GoodFriend versus July Zerg. I think in the previous game I might have like seen that and said, oh look, there's the GoodFriend, but it might have been actually Nada since he is the reigning champion. So, you know, often in the finals, even if the previous champion is not in the finals, you still want to, you know, point them out, acknowledge that they are technically the champion until the end of this series, you know? We're getting to see a little bit of their stats here on screen. Look at that. July Zerg versus Terran, 27 and 18, extremely strong. GoodFriend, 12 and 7 though. Actually a very similar statistical number in terms of percentage. Both of these players extremely, extremely strong in this matchup. And that is what you love to see, isn't it? You love to see both players in their prime matchup, duking it out at the highest level of StarCraft. That is why we watch esports, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? We get to see the best players duke it out, and it's really kind of cool to. I think you would agree with me because you're watching this, but I just think it's really cool to look back at these different eras too, where the highest level was something different than we could come to expect. But you know, you kind of have to think of it in those terms. We were just talking about this on the VODs and Chill show the other day, the live show that I do, where it's kind of like a watch party. And if you're not aware of it, we just kind of watch old VODs, chit chat about the VODs and about life and stuff in general. And it's so hard to actually, I would say maybe even impossible to try and match up players against each other from different eras, right? You know, we were talking about like who's the greatest StarCraft player of all time. Well, I don't know if you can say that, because like you could say like, okay, well, objectively speaking, you know, if you put Flash in his prime against anyone else in their prime, you know, would Flash win more than likely, right? So they might consider him the best, but like, how do you determine that, right? Who would be second, and how would you figure that out? So anyway, point being, it's just interesting to look at different time periods where things were completely different, because it's like, you know, think of when Uv was in his ascendancy, and winning 25 games in a row versus Zergs, right, which is the year previous to this Star League. You know, maybe he was the best of all time because he was on such another level from everyone else that he was around. Does that make him the best, you know? And so it's interesting to kind of think about that. And it applies to other sports as well. We were talking about like basketball, and like it's like, okay, well, was Michael Jordan the best of all time? Or, you know, technically some of the achievements of people like Wilt Chamberlain, you know, were more astounding. But then Diggity was hanging out and he was like, yeah, but like Wilt Chamberlain was playing basketball when most of the players weren't even 6 feet tall. Like, it was a different era. Like, it's hard to judge those accomplishments in a different light versus new accomplishments that are in a different context, you know? So, anyway, long story short, it's just I think it's really interesting to look back at 2005 and where the top players were. This is the cream of the crop. July Zerg is, you know, again, there's some argument for Go Rush, but let's call it a tie, and say July Zerg is one of the top Zergs ever at this point in time, right? GoodFriend, arguably one of the top Terrans at this point in time. So we're getting to see the highest level player, and GoodFriend is going for an all-in, ladies and gentlemen. I was so busy talking about the context, but now the action itself is rearing and ready to go here, ladies and gentlemen. That woman making a Bisu phase. It's SCVs versus drones in the middle of the map. Oh no, the Marines are behind. The Marines get cornered in the back by the drones, but he actually micros them beautifully. Oh my god, beautiful micro by GoodFriend. It looked like the drones had bypassed the SCVs and were going straight for the Marines, and he split them in 3 directions, got the SCVs in the way of the drones, and was able to get the damage down while he snuck an SCV over to start building the bunker. But here's the Zerglings, ladies and gentlemen. They are going to be the deciding factor. The drones are not doing their job in the back, but the Zerglings get all in amongst the business of the Marines and slaughter all but one. The SCVs and the last remaining Marine forced to put their tail between their legs and run back home. And now this is actually a little bit of a bad situation for GoodFriend. The Zerglings, and you know Jelizerg, he's not going to stop making Zerglings. He might squeeze in some drones, but he is going to keep attacking is my suspicion here. There we go. More Zerglings rallying across. I just called it. 8 more Zerglings rallying across the map to join the 6 from before that survived. And he says, I know that I have the advantage here. I just killed all of his Marines. He cannot have many defenses because he sent all of his defenses to try and be offenses. Jelizerg now running here with a ton of Zerglings, and there's nowhere for him to go. He's trying to get back to his SV line. A beautiful SV pull, running the SVs to the refinery so he can get them in front. Jelizerg is going to pull back from that location, sensing a disadvantage. He's aggressive, but he's not dumb. So he's going to say, all right, well, I've made him pull several SCVs off of mining right now. That in and of itself is basically, in a way, killing those SCVs for the moment. And now he comes in here. Oh no, the Marines don't have the SCV wall to protect them. They're trying to run back, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to be able to get in and kill most of the Marines. Oh no, and he's killing some SCVs as well. A couple of the Zerglings get caught over attacking the barracks, which is a little bit of a misplay, just a very slight one, but possibly important. If those 2 Zerglings had been attacking SCVs, had been attacking Marines in that time of that process, it would have been a different story. It could have gotten a little bit more of an advantage of that. Now let's see if we can figure out what economy Jelizerg has now. This is interesting. We do see that he has built drones. He went for that attack. He knows that GoodFriend has to be on the defensive now, because GoodFriend doesn't know if he's going to keep making Zerglings. And so he's like, well, now I can make drones. So we just saw that while he was attacking, he was making those drones popping out, Jelizerg getting his economy up and running, and actually the scouting SCV, nice job by GoodFriend to be thinking about that in the process of that whole attack and say, I need to see what he's doing. I need to go and see if he's making those drones or if he's making more Zerglings. I need to know that situation so I can respond appropriately, because I'm going to die if he makes more Zerglings and I don't respond to it. But I'm also going to die if he makes more drones and I don't deal with that appropriately as well with a good response. GoodFriend sending an SCV out there. Now, he didn't get in and scout the main, though, so he doesn't know what the lair timing is. For all he know, the lair could be half done by now or something like that. He doesn't know how many drones were on gas. The SCV didn't quite get in far enough to really get a full scout in. Now, GoodFriend is moving out here with a little squad of Marines, a little bit dangerous. He needs to be careful. He's got some Marines at home in case there's a squad of Zerglings that want to do a run by, which is a very classic Jelizerg maneuver, so it's very wise of him to do that. But having his Marines split in half like this is a little bit dicey. It's a little bit dicey. He needs to make sure that he doesn't lose a bunch of Marines unnecessarily here and force those sunken colonies. Now he's going to fall back. Very nicely done by GoodFriend. It was a little bit of a risk sending out 5 Marines. 5 Marines is not a huge risk, though, and it was a very calculated, I think a well-calculated risk. Send out 5 Marines. Potentially, if he has a bunch of Zerglings, then you lose those Marines, right? And you can still try and fall back and defend. But if he doesn't have those Zerglings, you force sunken colonies, you force the production of Zerglings, perhaps, you slow down Jelizerg's economy, and you get ready so that he will not be able to produce enough units in the mid-game to stop your second push, because that's exactly what I believe GoodFriend is going to be going for here. That is a lot of sunken colonies. That is 6 sunkens that he's making here. That seems like a lot. And I wonder if Jelizerg is planning on, like, going straight into lurkers because of this or something like that. He's got to be teching behind this, right? That's too much stuff to you know, he's spending a lot of money here, and usually you don't do that unless you're saying you're committing to not building units, essentially, right? If you're not building units, you're spending that money on one thing or another, and he's already actually got pretty much full Zerg saturation on his 2 bases, so that's what leads me to believe he might be getting some tech behind this, because he might be spending the money on tech, so he needs to use static defenses to kind of guard himself and trying to sneak out some Zerglings to get in a little bit of a counterattack potential. Also to try and get his scout in. We saw earlier that, oh, he actually is going for the Spire. Going for the Spire tech. So, you know, correct in that Jelizerg is wanting to make sure he's safe while he's teching up. And it actually makes a lot of sense, too, because when you're getting that Spire, you don't just get the Spire. You get the Spire, and then you stop making stuff so you can save up that gas. You can save up some minerals, and you can save up larva, so that when your Spire does complete, you can immediately build a bunch of mules and make full use of that new tech building, right? And so you got to be defensive. 7 sunken colonies seems like it might be a little bit overkill, but what do I know? I mean, we've actually, I guess we've seen situations where Jelizerg, I think, in fact, himself has been broken because he underestimated the amount of defenses he needed there, and he didn't have enough there. And if he just had 1 or 2 more sunks, he would have held out long enough to get that tech going. So now the Mutalisks are out, though. Probably 6 of them is what I'm going to imagine here. He didn't have any more larvae for that. He only had 2 hatcheries. If I'm correct about that. He may have a macro hatch, theoretically, but I don't think so. Now he's coming in here doing some harassing. A nice little bunker behind the mineral line is going to keep some fire, keep some damage being put down onto those Mutalisks as they do some harass, but he does get a couple SCVs there. And it's a large amount of saturation for GoodFriend, so it's not really going to affect him too much right now, actually. When it will affect him is the total SCV count that he'll have if he gets an expansion up. He's going to transfer a bunch of those SCVs to the expansion, and, you know, then he'll be able to get full saturation. Actually, now that I look at it again, it's not as many SCVs as I thought it was. He is actually not at, like, super oversaturated with those SCVs. So, you know, it's still, it's not going to be as big of a deal for a Terran player who has, you know, it looks like at least 1.5, maybe even 2 SCVs per patch right now to lose a couple of them, but it's still important to keep those SCVs alive and be able to harass them. Now, killing the units is also important there. Jelizerg picks off 1 Marine, takes some damage for it, but again, crucially, he is keeping GoodFriend back. He's keeping GoodFriend on the defensive. He's keeping GoodFriend from getting a second base. He's keeping GoodFriend from going and trying to attack his 3rd that Jelizerg is making, and his 4th base. I just noticed on the minimap, on the top middle of the map, Jelizerg making a 4th base in another main, I think, is what it looks like, which is a little bit of a questionable spot. It's a far distance to walk, but it's also not that great of a spot to defend. I guess if you put lurkers below the ramp, it is kind of a good spot to defend in that sense. Just a little bit tactically more difficult because it's on the low ground. But anyway, so that's the point of these Mutalisks, right? Keep GoodFriend occupied while you get a massive economy. And if Jelizerg can keep him occupied long enough to get a massive economy and not throw away all of his units for no reason, then Jelizerg will be in good shape, right? So, you know, I guess in a sense, we're in this mid-game, we're kind of seeing a similar situation to the beginning of the previous mid-game. Jelizerg has a very strong static defense, making it very difficult for GoodFriend to break him, right? It's not in different locations like it was in the previous game, but it's in the one location is natural. His other 2 bases are difficult to get to logistically, or just in terms of the length of walking to get there. So he's kind of well defended, but he's trying to get up to this high economy where he can get 3 or 4 bases and get that economy going strongly, so he can then overwhelm GoodFriend with stuff, with the Zerg Swarm. And he's doing a good job of it. But actually, Jelizerg is also just making a ton of Mutalisks. He's got 2 groups of Mutalisks right now. Are we about to see the god of Mutalisks come in here with a double Mutalisk micro? I think we're going to see 2 control groups of Mutalisks be micro, ladies and gentlemen. I thought that he was holding some back because he wanted to, like, replace the injured ones with healthy ones so he wouldn't lose any and build them up. But now he has the 2 groups of Mutalisks. I think, is that just one? He's moving them as if they're one group, so I think that is actually just one. Okay, there's the second squad. There's the second squad coming in here. He's got probably 20 Mutalisks here, ladies and gentlemen. It is a ton of firepower, and they are so incredibly mobile that it is going to be incredibly difficult. But GoodFriend is going for the counter. No, he's bringing his forces back. Jelizerg coming in with just an absolute huge swarm of Mutalisks. No, GoodFriend realizes he can't get back in time to deal with this. He's going for the base trade. He's got the tanks. He's gonna have to siege up outside of those sunken colonies, but he may actually have enough Marines that he's just gonna stim in there. No, he's gonna take it slow. I think Jelizerg might be able to just take this game just through attrition here, because he is all up in GoodFriend's main. GoodFriend has opted for the trade, for the base trade, but he's doing the slow base trade. He's shelling the sunken colonies with tanks instead of going in for a quick kill. And while he's taking his slow, methodical time killing these sunken colonies with tanks and protecting the tanks with medic Marines, this, like, giant swarm of Mutalisks is just overrunning his main base. Jelizerg now running even more Mutalisks across the map. Actually, no, I think he brought some back. I think he brought 1 squad back. After breaking the initial turrets and defenses, he brought 1 squad back to try and defend, and then he said, no, I'm just going to go all in, use all my Mutalisks to just kill everything. and now GoodFriend is basically been wiped out. There is like almost 30 Mutalisks now, ladies and gentlemen. This is ridiculous. And Jelizerg might just even go for an elimination battle here. The last Sunken Colony is under attack, though. This is the one chance the GoodFriend has to do the counterattack. Jelizerg is going... No, he's not bringing his Mutas back to battle. He's going for... No, he looked like he was going to go for elimination. Now he's turning back. So this is going to be it. GoodFriend is going to have one chance. He's going for the base trade. If he can somehow kill off Jelizerg quickly enough, he might be able to take this game still. Jelizerg coming in with a bunch of Mutas from both sides, and it's just way too many. There's the GG. There is the GG coming from GoodFriend. He saw that amount of Mutas, and like I said, it was going to be one chance for GoodFriend to break all those Mutas in a heads-up battle. You know, potentially if he had maybe some Radiates or something like that, if he'd gotten a little bit more Marines out along the lines, or if he had some turrets that he'd been building next to the Contain and Assault and Siege, maybe he would have been able to do battle there. But Jelizerg, he got those bases up and running on the sides, and when he went into attack, I was talking about how it was crucial for Jelizerg to, you know, just buy time to get his economy going, right? But once those hatcheries popped, it actually was kind of too late. Like, it wasn't... He actually didn't need to fully saturate all the minerals on all of those bases. He just needed the gas, right? And he was able to do it. He was able to very quickly build a handful of drones at those top 2 bases, get 2 more gas mines up and running, and then with 4 gases, he just produced non-stop Mutalisks. Just an absolute ridiculous flock of Mutas, and off of one base, making Marines off of one base, with Jelizerg making Mutalisks off of 4 bases. There was no way he could keep up. I don't know what the right call there was for GoodFriend exactly. Maybe it would have been to take an expansion earlier. He said, "Oh look, you built 7 sunken colonies. Let me just build some extra turrets in a command center, and I'm going to get 2 bases and get 4 more barracks or something like that, and try and meet you in the middle." Because when Jelizerg was getting his economy up and going, there was, you know, it was like, you have to do something about it. You can't let Jelizerg get away with getting that economy, right? So you either have to match his economy. Let's see, here we go. Here, this is the spot where the Mutalisks are just out, and there's the other 2 bases over here, right, that he's building. At this point in time, you can't let Jelizerg get away with that. You have to do something about it. You either have to match his economy, or you have to defeat those bases. And I don't know if he had... It looks like he didn't even have a starport at this point, right? So he can't even build a dropship. Dropping those 2 side bases would have been a really smart move, but there's just not a lot he could do. And his choice was instead to just kind of hang back. And again, you know, it all goes back to the fact that he tried this quick all-in in the beginning, or actually, I guess it was kind of all-in, right? This attack here, and it almost worked, but the drones bought enough time for the Zerglings to come out, and then it was just like, all right, well, once the Zerglings are out, it's kind of too late, right? And this is a cool spot. Look at that again. Look at that. It looked like he'd gotten the drones behind the lines, and then the Marines split perfectly. But here we go. Look, the Zerglings come in. The SCVs do not protect the Zerglings. I'm sorry, do not protect the Marines. The Marines all die, and Jelizerg does this counterattack where he kills a lot of Marines, kills some SCVs, and this is the moment where it all basically happens. This is the moment where it all happens. You know, we're talking about in the mid game, GoodFriend didn't actually, you know, deal with the fact that Jelizerg was getting 4 bases, but he couldn't, right? It all comes back to this. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 9 or 10 SCVs at this point. He has almost no Marines, no tech. He's just starting to get gas. He hasn't even gotten his gas yet. This is just, he's getting his gas right now, right? So this is the point where it's like Jelizerg says, all right, I know I have an advantage now. And he has to build a bunch of sunken colonies for the mid-game push, but he knew he had an advantage enough to do so, right? So he gets the lair. He gets the Spire, and then he just starts expanding. It all kind of went back to that initial push. So, yeah, and GoodFriend executed that push very, very well. I don't think that he really did anything wrong in this push. The drones got behind a little bit, and I thought that was a blunder at first, but he made it work really, really well. But I'm not sure exactly what GoodFriend could have done differently there to come out ahead in this situation and have the advantage for himself going into the game, instead of getting counterattacked by Jelizerg and having a disadvantage in the game. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's game number 2. The series is tied up, ladies and gentlemen. 1-1. It's now become from a best of 5 a best of 3. Just two quick games could be the deciding factor in who's going to take the championship here, and who's going to get that silver platter that they delivered the games on to mount on their trophy stand. With, in Jelizerg's case, a few other trophies, but in GoodFriend's case, it will be his only one. And you know what? If you're going to have only one on your mantle, you would probably prefer it to be a gold, wouldn't you? Anyway, because like I said, this is a GoodFriend's first time in the final, so he doesn't have any other championships to go off of. Not even a third, unfortunately. So, anyway, that's going to do it for game number 2. Such an exciting series. I was so excited for this, and it has so far been an absolute blast. Game number 3 is going to be coming up pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. Hope you enjoyed this one as well. Thanks for watching.